So the first thing I did was I said, let's do a hold me tight for the therapists and their partners. So we did the very first hold me tight in 2019 with the therapist right after the externship, and they loved it. They were just so excited to actually delve deep into the program because what hold me tight is practically the whole therapeutic sessions condensed into a workshop. So it goes through all the steps of EFT into a workshop. So the beginning of building an alliance and assessment, and then tracking the cycle, and then moving on into going deeper with the couples and finding the withdrawers and the pursuers and engaging them. All of this is condensed into a workshop. So they got to feel how it is to be in conversations with their partners that they never had the opportunity to do. They felt it themselves, and it was actually very good for them so that they can be able to apply it to their clients. So we did the first Hold Me Tight, and then we decided to do it to the public. So we did another one a year later to the public. That also was wonderful. And the more we did the Hold Me Tight, the more we found ways to kind of like cater it to our culture, to our upbringing, our faith. So when that was introduced with that little twist in it, it was actually through experience and through learning more about what they need. Moving forward, 5 years later, we decided to have the first Hold Me Tight, Let Me Go. The Hold Me Tight, Let Me Go program is for families. And the families, I asked the supervisees that I work with, just bring your families, the people that you work with, families, and bring them and let's do a Hold Me Tight. So that's how we initiated the idea. It was not easy to, open it to, new people who's never had EFT before. So people who already have been doing EFFT with therapists, that they already had the background, the language of EFT. So we invited them, bring in your families that you work with, and we'll do a workshop. We were lucky and we ended up with 12 families. That was a big number because if you think about it, 12 on average, three or four came, four members of the family. So it was a big number. So it was something that was, for the first time we realized, wow, this is an exciting thing because who would have thought we would do a Hold Me Tight in Egypt for families and all this that many people would come. They were very excited. The first day, and I'll give you a breakdown of what we do. So the Hold Me Tight, Let Me Go is geared towards teens. So we have families with teens. There's another program called Hold Me Tight, Let Me Be, and that is more for adults, not children of adult children. So these two are, you know, similar but different. So if you are interested in doing this, you're going to have to go to ICEFT website, and I'll show you at the end how to access the program. You can purchase it, and you can just follow the instructions. It is broken down for you so nicely in what exercises to use, how to do it, and you can just follow that, or you can gear it towards what is comfortable for you in your community, for your families. So we adjusted a little bit in the program. We picked certain exercises that fit with our culture, and we kind of like tailored it that way, and we did it in 2 days. The first day, it was 4 hours, and it was mainly for parents. So in EFFT, the biggest challenge, I don't want to say challenge, but the first step is working with parents and finding the resources and the blocks that stops them from reaching their children, or kind of thoughts or ideas about how their children should be, expectations. their own upbringing and how that kind of blocks them from reaching their children, whether their attachment style was affected, they have traumatic events in their upbringing. So we kind of give a broad view, an idea to the families about what is attachment. What is your attachment style? Maybe we will have a conversation about, let's figure out, what do you think? How was it growing up in your own household? And what ideas and things that you bring into your relationship with your partner and with your children? So the first day is geared towards just the parents. We do an assessment with them. We help them with a certain conversation between each other and to see what things they agree on, what things they don't agree on as a couple. And usually in that time frame, it's very short. We try to ask them not to get into the disconnection they have with their partner as much. We want to be a little bit on the surface. We don't want to dig deeper into their own personal issues because usually that's what ends up happening when you do EFFT with your families. The first session, you see the whole family, and then the second session, you ask the parents to come in, and you notice that there's a disconnection between the couples. So we end up working with the couples for a little bit, and then we go back into doing family therapy. So in the workshop, during those 4 hours, certain things will come up that we will notice that there's something going on between the couple and that they need to work on. We kind of also advise them to go see a couples therapist to work on that, but we want to focus on the workshop to be more of the goal is what can we do to be able to have a conversation at the end of the second day with our children, to have the opportunity to be open to receive from them a request or a wish that they want to have with them so that they can get connected. And I'll go over that a little bit. I'm going to share my screen so I can share more with you about how the breakdown is. So in day one, let me move this. In day one, like I said, we do it with parents. And we're talking about finding the attachment between the couple and building an alliance with the family, with the parents, so that they can trust that we are here to help them, find resources for them, find ways that will connect them again so that they can be on the same page working with their children. So on the first day, we're going to find a pattern, which we call tracking the negative cycle that happens between the parents and their children. But we're going to find also that the negative cycle happens as co-parents between the couple. So we're going to ask them to do an exercise to find what is the pattern that is happening that keeps repeating itself as you are parenting your children. Sometimes you will hear the father say, well, when I come in and I don't like what I'm seeing and I'm disagreeing with my teen, my wife comes in and starts protecting him or tries to dismiss what I'm saying. So I get frustrated and we start a fight, and usually in front of the child. So in scenarios like this, we're going to find what is the pattern that keeps happening. He gets angry. He starts shouting at the child or at his wife. The wife comes and she starts being defensive, and the pattern keeps repeating itself between them, and it ends up in a big fight where the child is even seeing the fight, and sometimes they're confused. They don't know who to listen to anymore. So, and it causes a bigger gap between the child and the father because he sees the good cop and the bad cop. So these are the patterns that we are tracking in exercise 1. We then go into another exercise where we're going to find ways to strengthen this relationship between the parents, to find a way to give them resources. We're going to give them information about child development. We're going to talk a little bit about how that child based on their age, how they're going to receive information from you, what you should or expect from them. So a lot of times the parents don't even know that a teen's brain is not fully developed by the age of 15. And it takes a very long time for that brain to develop, for them to be able to receive their information from their parents and kind of respond in a positive way. So a lot of the times in exercise two, we're going to find that we're doing psychoeducation, and that is okay. We have the opportunity in this workshop to do this because we're not doing therapy. We're pretty much giving resources to these parents. So the parents we'll break down the 4 hours that we do into information, into maybe fun videos to watch about interactions with parents and children. Sometimes I add in a little bit of humor. Sometimes I add in a little bit of opportunity if they want to share. We instruct all our families that they can share as much as they would like. And any time that they feel like they don't want to share, they are more than happy. We're more than happy to just have them be observers. So because most of the conversation is from us, we're going to find ourselves, we're doing a lot of psychoed. And what I found helpful in the Hold Me Tight, Let Me Go program is if I add in a few videos, a few, you know, resources in slides, it kind of helps them be engaged with it. And then I open it up for conversation between all of us. Um, Now, after those 4 hours, the main goal of the first day is we are prepping the parents. We want them to be able to receive something. Okay, so we're softening them. We're encouraging them that these children are really trying so hard to reach you, but there has been a disconnect that happened either from interactions that they've been engaging with you as parents, and they pulled away. They withdrew from the conversations with you. So they all agree, yes, my teenager is just in his room. He doesn't come out. He doesn't talk to me. He doesn't tell me things. And we kind of like validate that. That makes a lot of sense because when the pattern happens between you as parents and your children, usually parents are pursuing their children, their teens, wanting to have or gain something from them. And the teens are not able to express their feelings. They're confused themselves based on their age of what is happening internally for them. So they naturally tend to withdraw, go into their rooms. The people they talk to are mostly their friends, people outside of the house. So when that pattern keeps repeating itself in a family, we're trying to tell the parents, this is what's happening between you and your children based on a lot of interaction in the past that was not successful. And we want you to be able to receive information from them at the end of day two, where we're going to give you an opportunity to do a conversation where the child is going to ask something from you. So we're prepping them in that first day, and that is pretty much the most important conversation, which is day one with our parents. Because if we don't prep them to be ready to receive, it will be very difficult conversation at the end of day two. So we call this in emotionally focused family therapy parental buy-in. We want to buy them into the idea. We want to help them be ready. We want them to be engaged with their children, to be accessible, and to be able to find ways to respond to them in a positive way and not be caught in a negative pattern that keeps repeating itself between them. So when we do the buy-in, a lot of the times there is a lot of psychoed in that first day, like I said. Now, moving on, day two, we tell the parents, Okay, you're going to bring your children the next day. Mostly, they will bring the identified patient or the child that's giving them the hardest relationship interaction. So we tell them, you're welcome to bring the whole family. If it is going to be distracting, like for example, if they have a 1-year-old or 2-year-old, we ask them, okay, makes sense that you can leave them at home. But as you know, in a systemic frame, the whole system, which is every member of the family, plays a role. So there is relationship between the siblings that also can be negative, that can have a pattern that keeps repeating itself. There is a relationship between the older son and the father, and there can be a relationship between the mother and the younger son or the younger daughter. So there can be multiple kinds of interactions that we want to work on or engage the children to do with their parents. So we tell them it's okay if you want to bring 2 or 3 members of your family. One of the families actually brought the grandmother because she was a big part in the relationship in the family because she lived with them. So she also was welcome, and we had her engage also in the exercises as much as we can. So this is day 2. We asked the whole family, and they're going to spend the whole day with us. The key here is because there is going to be a conversation where we're going to break the parents in one room and the children in another room. So what makes sense is to have at least 2 moderators for the Hold Me Tight, Let Me Go program, because it will be hard to have yourself in 2 spots at the same time. So we usually have 2 moderators, and we also have assistants who can help us during the conversations with the families. Some parents want to do the conversations on their own, and we leave them the choice to do that. Some request that a therapist be present while they have the conversation, because sometimes it is very hard to navigate it when they're still kind of escalated or they're having a hard time understanding some of the wordings. So we sometimes have therapists who come and support us in those workshops. So in day 2, we have the whole family. It's usually 6 to 7 hours. And what we do is we're going to have different conversations. We're going to have 4 conversations on that day. The first conversation, we call it an introduction. So we asked the teens of parents and parents of teens to sit with a questionnaire, and they're going to find a way to introduce their parents. And the parents will find a way to introduce their child. So we're going to ask the teen, can you introduce your mom and dad and tell us a little bit about them? And usually we end up having, first the kids are like, I don't know what to say. Some even are not sure of what to say about their parents in terms of, do I say what they do? And that is part of an assessment for us to know how much is there a relationship between the kids and their parents, how much the parents know about their teens and what they're doing. Some parents, we had a single mom working with her teen son, and she was having a hard time connecting with him because she works a very long day out. She has long days at work, and she didn't have a lot of time to know that her son was actually on a soccer team and he was one of the really good players, and he had a life outside of the household that she wasn't even aware of. So when we ask them to introduce themselves, this gives an opportunity for say, well, add more. They're going to add more. Well, I'm doing this as well, or this is how much I've grown in my outside world versus within my family. Exercise 2, we also want to find a, a term, and we usually do this in just regular EFFT with our families. We ask the family as a whole, say a name that represents your family. How do you see your family? And if you can put a name or a word to it, and tell us, what does your family represent? We had responses like, my family is the go-getters. And this is a term we use with each other because we're always finding better ways to get grow as an individual, and we encourage each other. Some families, one family even said, we are the comedians. That can be a positive thing, and it can be also seen as something challenging, where we are finding humor in everything to avoid talking about the real stuff. So the terms that they use tell us a lot about what's going on in the relationship within this family. So we move on to exercise 3, and what makes your family the way that they are. So we are also looking at the negative pattern that keeps happening between the family, and we kind of help them with exercises. And all of this is in the papers that you're going to receive. It's through a DVD, through ISEFT, where it shows you exactly what the questionnaires are and what to give your families, and how to do the questionnaires, how to do it with them, how long to give it to them, and what questions to, help them reach this important information that you want to look at. Exercise 4 is we did that as a physical exercise. Sitting all day, it was very hard for a lot of teens. So what we ended up doing is we had teens on one side and parents on another side facing each other. So we had uh, parents A and B, and they're facing their child on the other side. So there's two lines facing each other, and each one is facing their own child or their own parent. And we will throw out a question of what your child will move one step forward or one step back based on the question. So the parent will say, uh, I would say, actually, the person who's asking the questions, um, how much do you want your parents involved in your homework? So the child will take a step forward if they want their parents to be involved more with their homework. And if they feel like their parents are over involved, they will take a step backwards. And the parents are watching their children based on the questions, how they want to come forward and if they want to go back. And this is what we call I need you, I don't need you conversation, where physically they are showing their parents without saying it, I need you in my life, or I don't want to, I want to take charge and I want to have more of independence in this area. So another question we would ask them is, how much do you want your parents asking you every day about your day? And usually the kids are like, oh, we want our parents to ask us more. Or they would say, I keep getting the same questions, and they will step back. And then we'll ask them, how much do you want your parents involved in your extracurricular activities? Or how much do you want to hear from your parents about their own life? And some kids will step forward. They want to know more about their parents. They want to ask them questions, but they never get an opportunity to do that. So while we're doing that exercise, the parents are watching this and they're taking note. Wow, my child needs me, or my child doesn't need me in this area. So that is a fun conversation. The parents learn a lot. The children learn a lot about themselves. They kind of like find an opportunity to say it in a safe place without having the parents coming at them and attacking them, or actually finding it very difficult to ask their parents, you know what, I don't need you right now. And this helps them when they go home. You know what, I can ask, I need you here or I don't need you here. So it was a fun exercise to do with our families, and the parents loved it, and they wanted to keep going and going with the different questions, but we didn't have a lot of time to do it. So we move on to conversation 3, where we do the demon dialogues. And again, We do an exercise that's physical, and then we do an exercise that's written. The physical one is we had something called over under scripted role play, where we have a role play of a parent sitting on the chairs, and we have an imaginary parents standing behind them. And the imaginary parent standing behind them, which is represented by two people, is actually the script or the conversation or the narrative that the person has internally based on different situations. And so the parents sitting down, the real parents, is the conversation that they say out loud to their children. And what they say internally to themselves in their head is represented by two people standing behind them. And then we also have the child sitting on the third chair and someone representing a child standing behind them. All these people are actually therapists. They're not the real audience. We're just showing that there is a dialogue that happens internally in each person, which is represented by the people standing behind you. And there's a dialogue, or there's a narrative that it's spoken out loud to the interaction between the parents and the child. So, for example, the father goes, "Where have you been today? You're so late." And then we have the person standing behind the father goes, "I'm so worried about you. I wish I can know where you are all the time because I get scared when you're not, when I don't see you." And then we have the child rolling their eyes and saying, "I'm sick and tired of you on my case all the time." And then we have the representative of the child standing behind goes, "I'm so worried that if I tell you where I am, that you're going to get so mad at me." So what this shows is actually the vulnerable emotions being shown in the person standing behind you, shows that these are the vulnerable the emotions that are actually present in all of us. And what is actually spoken is more of the secondary emotion, which is the anger or frustration that we actually see when we interact with a significant other or with our children. So that role play is very powerful because first, it's very informative in a very soft way to the children and to the parents that there is something called secondary emotion that is present, which is seen. And there is something called primary emotion, which is the vulnerable emotions that is not seen and is not heard. And when we do this role play, the children goes, "Wow, this is actually what's going on in my parents' head. They think differently than what they're saying. They're shouting at me, but actually they're scared and they're worried about me." So having that exercise is very powerful, and I love doing it, and it gives a lot of insight to the whole family. Then we move on to the demon dialogue, which is a written exercise that we do. And it's again tracking the negative cycle and pattern that happens between the parents and the teens. And we have therapists sit with them so we can help them navigate those questions. We move on to conversation 4, and this is where we need two facilitators. We have a facilitator with the parents and another one with the children. So the facilitator with the parents, they do a guided imagery exercise that I love doing, where I take them back to a moment where they're exactly the same age as their teen. That is their teen that they have right now. For example, I tell them, "I want you to imagine being in a situation when you were 15 years old. And if you can imagine your body at that time, how did it feel like? Go into that sensation of what your body felt like at 15. And I want you to recall a moment that was so difficult for you. And then when you went home, you told yourself, 'I can't share this with my parents.' And you sat with that feeling and you tried to make sense of it. And then you would either, dismiss that feeling or just walk away from it or just not be able to face it. Or you would end up crying your eyes out all alone and telling yourself, I can't share this with anybody. I'm all alone. I can't depend on anyone, and I'm just going to have to deal with it. And I want you to imagine yourself what it feels like to be in that place. And then I want you to imagine having um, a really amazing like role model or a person that you want to reach to. And what would they have told you at that moment? What would they have given you that would have made you feel great? Or what would you have wanted from them? So in this conversation, or this imaginary conversation that they're having, or guided imagery, this helps them tap into going back as a 15-year-old and really feeling what their child might be feeling at this moment. Because sometimes as parents throughout the years, we tend to forget what it was to be 13, 14, 15, and how difficult it was growing up, and maybe we lost track of what it means to have someone there for you, or it was a difficult relationship with your parents. And how can we help you reach that goal by having a role model or someone that you can imagine having a conversation with while you're dealing with this tough moment? So this guided imagery, and then we have a discussion with our parents, and we end up also realizing that having this open conversation with each other, with the parents, with each other, kind of opens a lot of insight and a lot of validation. And as you know, working in groups, it actually is a very healing process of realizing I am not, and walking away from, I'm not a horrible father or mother. I'm not the only one who is struggling. There is a lot of support when we are in a group, and realizing that we're all dealing with the same, we are all struggling, and we are all going to be able to come out of this by being aware that this is a normal thing. Parenting doesn't come with a manual, and you weren't handed the manual when you had your kids. And it's okay that we're still learning how to evolve as parents and how to learn from each other and from workshops like these and therapy in general. In the other group, we have the teens are sitting with a different facilitator, and we give them a questionnaire where we're talking about the questionnaire talks about the ARE, which is accessibility, responsiveness, and engagement. And it taps into when do they find moments that they needed their parents and they weren't there, on a scale of how do you feel your parent is accessible? How do you feel your parent is responsive to your needs? And how much do you find your parents are engaged with your life, your activities? And we ask them a whole bunch of questions. And that form is also in the DVD that you're going to receive in how to do this workshop. So we do this with the teens, and then we open it up for discussion, whoever wants to share. And we're going to have this conversation. It's going to be used when the teens approach their parents in the last conversation of the day, which is conversation number 5. So we take that questionnaire, we open the opportunity for these teens to tap into things that they never really thought of what they want from their parents. A lot of times in these teen group exercise, we hear the teens saying, I I don't feel it is safe to share this with my parents. And we are going to find that it is going to be challenging to open up the teens, but the longer we sit with them and we kind of like mini psychoeducation, that your parents came in yesterday, they had no idea about a lot of things that we shared with them. They shared with us some of the struggles, and we are pretty sure that there's going to be an opportunity for you to tell them what you need. It might be difficult, but we want you to take a risk today and we are going to be supporting you while you're doing that. So we're encouraging the children to take a risk, to actually come out of their shell, come out of their rooms, and to take a little jump and be asking their parents, you know, when you did so and so, it was so hard for me to approach you again, and I want to approach you. And if I come to you next time, if you can just be patient with me and not raise your voice or get shocked, maybe I'll be able to share with you. So we give them like little instructions in how to approach their parents when they have that last conversation. So when we go back after we separated them, we go back into conversation number 5, and we're going to do the biggest conversation of the workshop, which is Hold Me Tight, uh, which is the main one where we are creating a safety. We already prepped the parents to be able to receive. We prepped the children to be able to ask. And now we're going to have conversation start 5, which is we're going to ask the kids to ask their parents what would they need to be able to have a closer relationship, or whatever needs they have that they want to ask their parents for. We're not going to have you know, a, a whole moment of epiphany and they're like, wow, and everyone's great. We're just starting the process of having them approach their parents. And because we have a therapist sitting with them, the therapist is going to slow them down if they start getting into a negative pattern, and we're going to have them slowly guide them again into asking them what they need as children from their parents. So the parents' job is to listen, and we're going to prep them in that. We told them already. We've been prepping them day 1, and we prepped them when we were alone with them in day 2. We're going to ask them to be open and to be just receiving what their teens are saying. There are things that might be coming up for them. We want them to, you know, take note of that, and maybe that they can talk about it in family therapy afterwards. But for this exercise, we want them to really be open to just receiving from their teens. And the teens' job is to focus on their own feeling and the biggest part of the hurt or fear that they can't describe, that they were never able to describe. So we're not gonna push them to ask for big things. We're just going to slowly try it out. Like, for example, you're not gonna have the teen saying, "You are a jerk. You just never get it right with me, and you're so ridiculous." You know, we're going to slow them down if they're gonna go into these kind of attacks. And that's why it's important to have a therapist kind of facilitating conversation 5 with the family at the end of the day. So now this is, for example, one of the things, one of the questions. Sometimes I get worried or scared that you won't want to listen to me. You won't want to hear me or understand me. When I feel uncertain and worried like this, what I need from you is, and the child finishes what they need. So that is an example of conversation 5 that the teen is going to do to the parent. And that is the end of the curriculum of the Hold Me Tight, Let Me Go. And as you see, you know, there is so many exercises if you're going to bring the DVD from ISEFT. And we tailored it and we picked certain exercises that fit with our culture. Things that we felt did not fit, we kind of let it aside. So, you know, a lot of the testimony was so we asked them at the end to do a testimony, and we recorded it and we took notes, and there was just mind-blowing testimony, especially from the kids, where we had one child say, I've never seen my sister talk openly to my parents like what I noticed today. And I was so touched that she was able to share this with my parents because I felt like she was all alone and she was depressed. And I heard her today for the first time, and I'm so moved by what happened. So even siblings supporting each other, even in their testimony, was just so moving. We had a couple, actually, they're not a couple, they were divorced parents, and it was amazing that they both came. At the beginning of day one, they sat in totally separate areas. They would not look at each other, they would not sit next to each other. By the second day, um, when the child came in, he sat next to the mom because he lives with the mom, and he was not engaging with the father. He actually stopped talking to the dad for a year after the divorce because of what happened. And at the end of conversation five, all three of them were sitting next to each other. The child was in the middle, and he was engaging with both parents. So just having that transformation was actually very moving for us. We enjoyed what we learned from these families. They enjoyed engaging. They wanted to do the exercises again, and it was actually a very moving kind of workshop, and I enjoy doing it. We've done two till now in Egypt, and we're looking forward to having another one at the end of this year. So I'm going to open it now for any questions or you know, any feedback or whatever you would like to talk about in terms of EFFT in general, even. So I hear Nazia, I can read your, you finding it challenge to adapt emotionally from an okay, I see.
I can uh it sounds like it was really powerful to do this workshop. I think that definitely family therapy is really challenging and it requires a lot of buy-in. It requires so much like patience on the side of the therapists. Um, but the fact that you guys were able to do it in, you said
Egypt,
three
Egypt.
days, 2 days?
It was just 2 days.
Yeah, like 2 days is incredible. Like that is mind blowing. I've never,
It
I
can
mean,
be done.
when you think about just like the family, like the parent-child relationship and in 2 days making a difference, that's incredible. So, I'm very impressed. I think that that was really awesome that you were able to do that. And in Egypt, I think like being able to tailor it to the families with that cultural lens is really special. And that so many people signed up and like found it to be worth trying and then really finding out that it was probably the best thing they could have done for their families
Mhm.
is very impressive.
Yes. And it was actually a lot of, trial and error too. We learned a lot, things that we kind of needed more time. We should have added more time to it. So the second workshop, we adjusted a little bit, but it can be done in 2 days because again, the workshop, it's not therapy. um, we have to also remind them that this is not therapy, this is just a workshop. If the conversations are difficult, we can skip them or we can have someone sit with you while you do them. But we're just having a conversation to start the process. And then the therapists that we invite to assist in the workshop, they can actually build rapport and a relationship with those families, and then they can go ahead and continue working with them after the workshop. So we found it like a win-win. We're building that safety, we're building the opportunity to just try it. And then because they're getting a lot of positive feedback or positive outcome from it, they're encouraged to go ahead and continue family therapy. So it can be done, and we're just touching the base. We're not really delving into therapy. So, but thank you, Fidak, for your feedback. So let me approach the question from Nazia first on the thing. And definitely, yes, we do have families that are, um, from different backgrounds, different religious, faith and culture is different in Egypt. We have Christian and we have Muslim families. So our focus wasn't doing it for Muslim families, it was open to everyone. But in terms of navigating, our faith, the Muslim faith, with workshops like this, it is a big topic, and I'm sure, Hamid, if I missed something from previous meetings, we did talk about introducing the faith into EFT and how it's compatible and how does it fit. And in terms of family therapy, there is a lot of terms that we hear, especially in Egypt. And I don't know if you can understand the word when we say bir al-walidain, obey your parents, um, and how heavy that word is, and how respect in general, that we cannot, raise our voices, we cannot disagree. And these are topics that are actually very common in Egypt as well. And we want to tread lightly, that we're again not the experts in the religion or the faith, and we're actually just opening opportunities for them to have a discussion. So when we talk about a negative pattern that happens and the child raises his voice and the father gets really angry and they start attacking and using the term, you are disobeying your parents, or you are a disgrace because you are shouting at your father and I'm not going to talk to you. That closes the opportunity for any conversation. We're done. There's nothing more back and forth. So we slowly, when we talk about the negative pattern, as soon as your child disrespects you and he says something that is very hurtful, the first thing that comes to your mind is this child is going to Jahannam because he's disobedient to me. And I'm so scared that he is going to be punished. And I'm so angry that this is how he's talking to me. That is the internal voice he has inside. But what comes out is, you are disobedient and I'm done with you and I'm not going to talk about this. You closed the conversation and you went away. There's no opportunity to continue. So the child learns, I'm never going to be able to approach my parents because I can't show my anger. I can't show my frustration. So I'm just going to withdraw. So just when we talk about the negative pattern in the conversation, we're going to address that. I get it. It makes it very hard for you to continue a conversation with your son when you see him raise your voice against you. What do you tell yourself? And we give an opportunity for the father to share. Now he's still in the conversation. He didn't walk away yet. Well, I can't imagine him talking to me like this. I never talked to my father like this. If I talked to my father like this, I would have been punished. I would have been, XYZ. And then the child is listening to this and realizing, after we dig deeper with the father, what it means to him that he hears his son raise his voice, that I feel like I can't control him anymore, that he's going to be out and doing things that is just so scary for me. And I can't imagine him raising his voice to me. So what does that mean? I'm not his father. He cannot disrespect me like this. Then he's not going to listen to anything I share. When we are doing the negative cycle and working and doing the process of emotion of what happens between them, now they're going to be an opportunity that never existed before. Now they're seeing deeper what's going on in their father's head. And now the father is sharing more about his more vulnerable emotions that he's never shared with his child. This is a conversation that would never have existed outside of this one. So even though it is a difficult topic about disrespect and about patriarchal positions in the families and all that, we're making it possible to continue the conversation versus they're both withdrawn, no one shares, no one talks. So that's how EFT fits into this. We're not navigating, finding answers and solutions to these problems. We're just creating a opportunity to have difficult conversations they've never had before and sat in. And we're creating a safe space for the child to be protected. And we're creating an opportunity for the parents where we kind of like slow them down so that they can share with their children what is really going internally for them. Okay. So I hope that answered your question, Nazia. And definitely it's a big question and it's very important, but and I'm sure Hamid will find opportunities to talk more about culture and how it's incorporated into EFT.
Thank you
Aspect
very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, these are the things which bothered sometimes in the therapeutic sessions and culturally relevant things like patriarchal system and in the couple relationship mostly. So we have to discuss about the ways how to deal and how to go through the because the therapy is universally accepted, very much effective, but we have to adapt it into our own culture. So that's my
exactly.
point. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes, and it's very adaptable because we are being, as therapists using EFT, we're not the experts. We are just walking next to those parents and families and couples. We're walking next to them. We're holding their hands gently, and we're asking them to slow down. Let's look deeper into what's going on internally for you, and that will help you get connected again. Because when you share more vulnerable emotions, that's when you feel safe. And that's when the other person will be more empathic and reconnect with you. So, whatever the conversation is, we're going to be there next to you and we're going to help you reach it. And you're going to have it because you've never had it outside of the sessions. Okay. So, aspects of ISEF training that you found did not fit. Ooh. Um, there is trainings definitely. There's so many different kind of trainings. There's trainings, I don't know if some of you work with uh, you know, as far as I know, there's workshops that covers a lot of things, neurodiversity, trauma. There's trainings about working with divorced families. There's a whole lot of trainings, but I've never really thought about which one does not fit because EFT in general, to me, fits in our work as Muslim couple, with Muslim families and Muslim couples in general. So I don't really, not sure which one to say about that. I don't know if Ashraf, did you experience a training that did not fit with our culture or religion?
No, no, nothing that I've seen so far that doesn't. Um, yeah, I mean, there might be aspects that where you might be, it doesn't exactly fit, but I mean, overall, like using the model, absolutely, fits.
Oh, okay. No, I think Samia kind of explained it more. Thank you. You're referring to this Hold Me Tight workshop that we did? Yes. So things that did not fit. One was just the parents, it was a questionnaire about working with, you know, um, parents that are divorced, and we didn't have a lot of divorced families. And then another one was, sorry, let me close that. One workshop we did have one divorced family, the other one did not. So one questionnaire was mainly for extended family and divorced families, and we didn't use that. Another one, the role play was between a gay couple, and we did not want to use that into our culture. We did not have any gay families, gay parents. So there was some things that were too long as well. and it was not fitting into the time frame. So, but it wasn't mainly did not fit our culture. So, best way to integrate faith as a protective factor. Can you explain some more, Samir? Is Samir still with us? Okay. So as far as I know, if I'm reading his question correctly, how would I incorporate faith? I would, me personally, whenever I incorporated faith into the session, it's because in my assessment, I've done a lot of questions about how does faith play a role in your life? How do you view faith? Do you both agree on it as a couple or as a parent? What things do you disagree on? And based on my assessment, that's when I would add in little comments here and there. And the comments I'm adding is out of, in a more of a curious way. How does this fit you? As far as I know, you referred to, like your child, and you said he is a disobedient child. How does this fit in with your faith? How do you see that disobedience? So I'm also doing an assessment. No, I'm not talking about the workshop right now. I'm talking about doing EFFT in general in family work. So incorporating my faith and the couple's faith, there's two different things. It's my faith is separate than theirs because everyone has different levels. Everyone has different perspectives in how to use faith in their own life. People have different ways of talking about it. Some feel comfortable talking about it. Some don't want to talk about it. So I'm always asking them, how do you want to incorporate faith into this session? I'm not the expert in it. I'm always getting the information from them. And I'm always telling them, how does it fit with you? Do you want to use this information together? Or how does it fit? Do you want to disregard it? And ultimately, if there's a disagreement about faith and how to practice it, I'm always encouraging them to go to their sheikh or imam because they're more of the expert of the faith. What I'm doing as a therapist is I'm giving them an opportunity to have that conversation in a safe place, but I'm not fixing it or answering it for them or using those terms based on what I understand, because there can be some discrepancy there. So I'm always inviting them to go to their imam for more of fatwa or more of understanding. But in the session, if they're having just a hard time talking about the disagreement, this is what I'm doing. I'm creating a space for them to do that in the session. So because Samir is not with us, if that did not answer his question, I hope when he sees the recording that if it was, then it's great. Hamza?
I have a question. Sometimes I find it hard in uh, couples that coming from our, from the community having uh, ability to define their emotions. So with you sharing an experience in the Middle East, I'm kind of wondering, in the US, it's easy to have the thoughts of I'm not being seen, I'm not being heard, I'm vulnerable, I'm being alone. What are those words, and when they show up in the Arabic experience, what would they look like? Because I can't imagine an Arabic person saying, "ما عم يشوفني أبي." They're not seeing, and I cannot imagine that. What does those needs sound like in Arabic?
Okay. I'm not sure if a lot of people here speak Arabic or understand, but I can give you a few examples. ما بيفهمني على طول، ما يعني على طول رميني أو مش سائل فيا، أو لما بجيله. I'm sorry if I'm speaking Arabic and some of you are not understanding, but I'll try to translate it. When I approach him, I'm too scared to approach him. Okay, so they're gonna talk about their feelings. They're not gonna say, I'm not seen or I'm not heard. They're going to say terms around that. They're going to describe the situation of what happened. يعني على طول بيزعق فيا وأنا مش عايزة أكلمه. فأنا I understand more from them is that because he raises his voice to you, you're avoiding that painful situation. You feel hurt and you feel scared. Tell me more. So when they say terms, they're a little different, but they're not that different than in the Western community. You'll be surprised in Egypt, they're very emotional, they're very expressive, they're very aware of their emotions. So the teens actually are very, very above their age level than the teens that I've worked with in the States. So they're actually more advanced, and I attribute that to having extended family, having more exposure to language and exposure to community that a lot of people in the States don't have grandparents and aunts and uncles helping them grow. And so I do notice a difference, but actually it's more advanced than in the States. So I hope that answers your question.
I have one more question for you.
Sure.
I don't know if we have how much time we have left, but so this is maybe also hitting on the working with Muslim families versus working with like different cultures. So when I was doing family therapy, I was doing it specifically for families dealing with problem sexual behavior, and a lot of the times that was like internally. And one of the aspects that we did talk about and we made sure to talk about was healthy sexuality. So have you used that? Have you talked about these things? Like how does that fit into talking with different cultures and specifically Muslim families? I'm just thinking like maybe projecting a little, but I'm sure it's not something that is discussed or easily discussed within the families.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's a very, very important topic. And in regards to this workshop, we don't discuss that. In outside working with Muslim families and around that topic, there is a big part of when we work with the families that we're going to be sitting with parents. And when we sit with them, according to their age of their child, of course, that's how much information they're going to be talking about sex in general, or the topic, or safety, or protecting themselves, or all these difficult conversations. We're going to have it with the parents in a psychoeducation kind of uh, session. And again, we're going to assess how comfortable they are with having this conversation. Because sometimes even having a conversation about sex with a Muslim couple is actually very taboo, or they're not used to it. So, like I said earlier, we end up having a lot of sessions with our parents as couples when we start emotionally focused family therapy. So we end up having the first session as a family, and then we move on to having it with the parents so that we can get more information, and we have an individual session with a child. So we have different ways of breaking down how to do family work. So when we sit with our parents and they are, for example, struggling with their teen because they've noticed that there is some magazines, pornographic magazines under his bed, for example, and they're shocked and they don't know what to do about it and how to talk to him. So again, we're going to do a lot of psycho ed about his age, his development, and how much this is a normal thing because that's what his biology inside is making him want to explore and learn and see. And then we're going to give them resources. We're going to help them, of course, assess how much do they want to talk about it, how much they're able to talk about sex in general. So a lot of it is resourcing we give to the parents according to every child's age group. Now, when we do notice that we sit with the individual child and they bring up the conversation that they're having a hard time with their parents, they don't want to ever have them listen or hear anything about what they want to do. We are also going to be assessing how much harm that person is going to do to themselves if they don't have support. So we're going to, me personally, I help the child understand that I will be like a surrogate parent for them. I will give them a lot of support in how to understand themselves and what precautions to use and what things to do. I'm going to build the rapport and safety with them to share with me. I'm going to take care of them until they are ready to have that conversation with their parents. So there's different ways of navigating it, but we do it very gently and slowly. So I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, it is. And I think that that makes a lot of sense. Even when I was doing it with like parents who have obviously faced this like catastrophic event within their family unit, even then there were some challenges, but I think, yeah, talking to the parents and really understanding their points of view and maybe coming up with like timelines of what makes sense for them. And even if they are younger kids, like we were definitely dealing with like 10-year-olds as well. So like, this is a conversation we'll get to one day, or
Yeah.
this is appropriate now. But I was just curious because I haven't actually worked with a Muslim family during in that role. So I was just
Mm.
wondering how that might have looked.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure you have the skills already and know how to, navigate it. It's not different than talking
Hmm.
to, Western families. Just
Hmm.
the only thing when you do the assessment with the Muslim families, you're doing it with a couple. You want them to be able to be on the same page and on the same terms. That is going to be very helpful because if the father is okay with his son exploring and the mother is not, or vice versa, or there's something that they're disagreeing on, this is where things get a little tricky because they won't know who to go to. And
Yeah.
in terms of if you feel like the mother is more understanding, maybe you can have a conversation with the mother first and the child and have them have that conversation because he feels safer with her.
Yeah.
So we break down the sessions according to what is the most heated,
Mhm.
difficult conversation. And then we move slowly into expanding into other opportunities to talk to either parent.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Hamza?
Sorry for asking too many questions.
No,
Uh,
no.
Thank you. Maybe another thought I have is, how do you see the hierarchy, the patriarchal hierarchy in the Middle East impact the how the session might go, or receptiveness of the couples, um the receptiveness to the AFT, the receptiveness of how to talk to each other or how to deal with the situation, considering that I know like in the Sa'id it will be maybe more hierarchical than maybe in Cairo or Alexandria. But how much do you see a difference in that between here and the Middle East or Egypt?
So, definitely this is in the background. It's present. It's in their head, because it is a big part of our culture in terms of respecting your elders and obeying your parents and being more obedient. And all these concepts is actually in the forefront, and it's just something that we do hear a lot from the parents. But again, our focus using EFT is we're going to slow this disagreement or this disconnection down so that we can maybe navigate it into a safer way of approaching each other. So when you slow something down, you won't be raising your voice. You'll be expressing more of vulnerable emotions. So, in a way, indirectly, we are following what our culture is asking us to do. The prophet said, if you're standing, sit down. And if you're angry and you're sitting down, lie down. So, when we slow down in EFT, this is what we are biologically meant to do, to be able to regulate ourselves so that we can be able to have difficult conversations. So when they have parents who are saying it's my way or nothing else, again, when we sit with those parents, we're trying to help them open up and find out what is the block. This is a block. It's going to block you from reaching your son or daughter. So, what does that block mean to you? And whatever they share, we're going to help them understand, okay, so how do we maybe open the block a little bit and find an opportunity to be exploring a different way of approaching them? So if I'm just thinking out loud, having a parent share that, I'm not having her move to another country to go finish her education. We're not having that conversation. This is the rules. Girls do not leave the house. Okay, so now this conversation is heated. It's at home. It's the elephant in the room, and no one is talking about it. And she is crying in her room. The father stopped it, and it's his decision, and we're done. So when we kind of approach that, we're going to sit with the father and say, it makes a lot of sense. There's so many reasons behind your decision. Help me understand what it feels like inside watching you two not have a conversation about it. Well, I'm sitting with it in anger, and I know she's upset, but I'm not gonna be able to move from this decision. Okay. And sitting in that distress, knowing that she's in distress, how does that feel like inside your body? I'm not happy. I'm not comfortable with it. I don't like seeing her sad, but I want her to understand that I'm doing this for her safety. I'm doing this because I care about her. Absolutely. You are always the person who is going to be taking care of her. She is very lucky to have someone who is so caring and wants to protect her. And it's very hard for you to believe that she's going to be in another country all alone and no one to support her, no one to be with her. And this is something unheard of in how you were brought up. So we're going to be validating his fears. We're going to be opening him up to share more vulnerable emotions. And guess what? This is something he's never said out loud. He probably just said, this is my rule. We're not doing it. But there is a fire inside their household together. And that exists, and everyone is in pain. So when we open it up and we share with each other, we slow down the cycle. We try to understand what is the fears inside of us. And most parents, that's all it is. It's a fear. It's a protection. It's a wish that they will be in, taking care of these kids forever. And it's not because they are, want to just say their word and that's it. So when we have these conversations, we're just giving it an opportunity to be explored. And that block becomes softer. Sometimes the daughter will see that and hear something that can change in her as well. She will get closer to him. So again, we are not telling them, that's not okay. She's 25 and you should not be telling her what to do, like some Western people might be telling her. We're opening the conversation. That's it. Okay. For those that speak Arabic, can you please send me any resources, books if you have any, please? Okay, great. I can send you some too. I have some resources. But before I end, I want to encourage you all, if you want to do this Hold Me Tight, Let Me Go workshop, it is an amazing experience. It was scary for me to do it first time. But having the support of another co-facilitator, having other therapists engaging in it, learning, I'm always here. I'll send my email to Hamid to send to everyone. If anyone wants to venture and do it, I'm more than happy to consult and help you start the process. You're going to learn, you're going to love it, and you're going to be providing something that no one has ever experienced. And I really encourage you all to just try it. So this has been a joy to meet all of you, and I hope to see you in future events. And
Thank you.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. It's evening for me, so. And Hamid, I'm not sure if he's gone, but yeah, yes, I think he's gone. Okay. Well, thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Take care.